In a move that is both dramatic and deeply consequential, Burkina Faso's military government under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré has taken a step that is echoing far beyond the borders of the landlocked West African nation. The country's independent electoral commission has been officially dissolved, and in its place, the Ministry of Territorial Administration, under direct control of the junta, will now be responsible for overseeing the electoral process. The decision, effectively postponing any independent civilian-led elections until July 2029, is igniting a fierce global debate. What does this mean for Burkina Faso, for West Africa, and for the fragile democratic trajectory of an entire continent? Let's begin with what happened. On July 16, 2025, the military-led transitional government, headed by the 36-year-old Captain Ibrahim Traoré, signed into law a decree that eliminates the Independent National Electoral Commission, CENI. This commission had previously been responsible for conducting transparent, impartial elections. Now, that task falls to a ministry controlled by the junta itself. The implications are clear. There is no longer any institutional body capable of acting as a check on electoral power in Burkina Faso. And this isn't just an administrative change, it's a full-on political restructuring, a redrawing of the power lines, an erasure of democratic safeguards. Captain Traoré came to power in September 2022 through a military coup that ousted Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, who had himself seized power just 8 months earlier. Since then, Traoré has cast himself as a Pan-Africanist warrior, rejecting what he calls the tentacles of neocolonialism, and calling for a complete decoupling from Western influence, particularly from France. He's charismatic, he's young, and for many, he represents the face of African self-determination. But the recent developments now suggest a more authoritarian undertone to his vision. What we're seeing in Burkina Faso isn't isolated. Mali and Niger, both ruled by military juntas, have taken similar steps. Mali indefinitely postponed elections in 2024, citing security concerns. Niger, following its own coup in 2023, has also rejected ECOWAS mandates and is now co-governing with Mali and Burkina Faso under the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Together, these three countries are forming a new axis of power in West Africa, one that is deeply skeptical of Western institutions and deeply committed to forging alternative geopolitical alliances, especially with Russia and China. Is this a resurgence of African strength, or a dangerous retreat from democratic norms? The dissolution of CENI means future elections in Burkina Faso will be neither independently monitored nor guaranteed to be free and fair. Critics argue that this is not just a temporary measure but a calculated move to entrench the military in power indefinitely. Supporters of the move argue otherwise. They say the Electoral Commission was biased, ineffective, and vulnerable to foreign interference. They say Traoré is simply restructuring the state to protect national interests and regain sovereignty over national systems. But for opposition voices within the country and international human rights organizations, this is nothing less than the slow death of democracy. International response has been swift. ECOWAS, the regional economic community, condemned the decision, saying it further delays the return to civilian rule. The United Nations has called it a serious democratic setback, while France and the United States have warned of economic and diplomatic consequences. But Traoré has made it clear, he does not bow to foreign pressure. His government has expelled French military forces, shut down French media outlets like RFI and France 24, and now works closely with Russian security contractors. Western nations have expressed concern that Burkina Faso is falling into the geopolitical orbit of Moscow and Beijing, trading one form of influence for another. Within Burkina Faso, the reaction is deeply divided. Thousands took to the streets in Ouagadougou in support of Traoré, chanting slogans like, "Down with neocolonialism," and "Long live Captain Traoré." Many believe that the traditional democratic institutions have failed to protect the nation from terrorism, poverty, and corruption. But there are others, civil society groups, journalists, students, who are sounding the alarm. They fear this is the beginning of an authoritarian regime that could last for decades, if not longer. And with most independent media muzzled or in exile, The ability to report honestly is under threat. The ripples are spreading across the Sahel and beyond. Ghana, once seen as West Africa's most stable democracy, is watching closely. Will it continue to align with ECOWAS? Or will economic realities and Pan-African sentiment pull it toward the AES bloc? Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, is worried. A destabilized Sahel threatens its northern borders. Ivory Coast and Benin have criticized the junta's actions, warning that an anti-democratic wave is rising. But for many young Africans, especially in the Sahel, the old systems no longer serve them. They are disillusioned with ECOWAS, with imported democracy, and with the legacy of French interference. They want something different, something homegrown, even if it comes with risks. Traore's supporters frame this moment not as a coup against democracy but as a revolution in governance. A rejection of foreign-imposed systems that have not delivered prosperity. A bold attempt to redefine sovereignty on African terms. They see Traore as a modern-day Thomas Sankara, the Marxist revolutionary and former president of Burkina Faso, who once dared to challenge Western control in the 1980s. Sankara was assassinated in 1987 under suspicious circumstances linked to foreign interests. Now, Traore is being hailed as his spiritual successor. But where Sankara pushed for grassroots empowerment and transparency, Traore is being criticized for consolidating control and limiting dissent. Can he live up to the Sankara legacy? Or is this a different path altogether? What happens next could shape the future of the entire continent. If Burkina Faso holds out until 2029 under Traore's rule, without elections or an independent judiciary, it will set a precedent for other military leaders across Africa. Will we see a domino effect, where constitutional norms are thrown out the window in favor of military-run transitional governments that last decades? Or will internal resistance and global diplomatic pressure force a reversal? Already, diaspora communities in Europe and North America are organizing protests and awareness campaigns. African youth movements are calling for solidarity and accountability. The battle for the soul of Africa is being fought not just in parliaments, but in the streets, online, and in the hearts of the people. So where do you stand? Is Captain Traore a visionary leader breaking the chains of colonialism? Or is he a military ruler tightening his grip on power at the expense of democracy? Are we witnessing the emergence of a new Pan-African order, or the beginning of a dangerous authoritarian slide? Whatever your answer, one thing is certain: Africa is changing. The old rules are being rewritten. The world is watching. And the next chapter is being shaped by leaders like Ibrahim Traoré and the millions of Africans demanding sovereignty, dignity, and a system that finally works for them. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into Africa's most critical stories. This is not just news. This is history in the making.
Welcome to African Spotlight 24, your premier source for news and current affairs from across the continent. We're glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and turn on notification to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis. Your support helps us reach more people. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information and is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. African Spotlight 24 does not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our goal is to deliver thoughtful insights, highlight local voices, and encourage informed conversations throughout Africa.
This is a breaking news alert. Hello and welcome to this show. The drama continues in Burkina Faso as the situation takes another unexpected twist. Remember Ibrahim Traoré, the young soldier who ousted his own military boss just 3 months ago, the same boss who installed him as the head of the presidential guard. As the rest of the world watches closely, we unpack what this latest move means for Burkina Faso's transition to democracy. Is this the end of democratic aspirations or just a temporary setback? Join me as I take you through the highs and lows of this dramatic turn of events. According to Tai, the abolition of the Electoral Commission was part of a series of reforms aimed at streamlining the political process and ensuring greater citizen participation. This move effectively grants the junta the authority to organize and oversee the country's electoral processes, a power it intends to exercise until the planned elections in 2029. He emphasized that these changes were necessary to ensure the organization of inclusive, transparent, and participatory elections in line with the principles of democracy. Many view this as an attempt to solidify the junta's grip on power and undermine efforts to restore democratic rule in the country. Let us delve deeper into these questions and explore the underlying factors that may have influenced this significant decision. By dissolving the IEC, the military junta led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré effectively takes control of the electoral process in Burkina Faso. Since the military takeover, there have been growing tensions between the junta and the commission, with the junta accusing the commission of bias and the commission accusing the junta of interference. By controlling the electoral process, the junta can manipulate the rules to ensure that they are the ones in power. They can also use their control of the electoral process to intimidate and harass opposition candidates and parties, as well as to rig any elections that are held. This culminated in the sacking of the Commission's president, Newton Marie-Joseph Ouedraogo, by the junta in May. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so for more updates. Some have speculated that the junta may announce a new transition timetable, but it is unlikely that they will set a date for the return to civilian rule. Instead, they are likely to keep the transition open-ended, giving them the flexibility to stay in power for as long as they want. The dissolution of the Electoral Commission is a significant setback for Burkina Faso's democratic transition. It highlights the junta's unwillingness to relinquish power and its disregard for international calls for a return to civilian rule. It will be important to continue to monitor developments closely and to engage in thoughtful discussions about the challenges facing the country and the region as a whole. The role of international actors, such as the African Union, the United Nations, and the European Union, will be crucial in supporting the people of Burkina Faso in their pursuit of democracy and stability. While the immediate future of the country remains uncertain, one thing is clear, that this move sets a dangerous precedent for the region and raises concerns about the spread of military rule in West Africa. It demonstrates the junta's unwillingness to relinquish power and its disregard for the country's international obligations to restore civilian rule. The move has been widely condemned by the international community, including by the African Union, the United Nations, and the European Union. Your voice matters, and by speaking out, you can help to make a difference. Thanks for watching this video to the very end. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friends and family. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so for more updates. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time. The O has called for the restoration of the dissolved institutions, while the EU has threatened sanctions against those responsible for the dissolution. With the dissolution, the junta has removed any remaining doubts about the Commission's independence by bringing it under direct government control. Burkina Faso is located in a volatile part of West Africa where there have been several recent coups. In neighboring Mali and Niger, the military has also seized power, and there are fears that this could trigger a wider trend of military takeovers in the region. The fact that the two countries, which have been suspended by ECOWAS, are now aligning themselves with Russia and not even ruling out a potential switch to the Russian ruble settlement system only adds to the concern. If this move by Burkina Faso's junta to extend their stay in power indefinitely plays out, it would surely serve as an inspiration for other ambitious military officers in the region. This gives them the power to set the rules and regulations for any future elections, ensuring that they are conducted in a manner that favors the junta. The junta has cited concerns over the Electoral Commission's past performance and the need for greater government control for the electoral process as justification for this move. However, critics argue that this is merely a pretext to maintain the junta's grip on power and prevent a return to civilian rule. Since then, the country has seen growing instability and a proliferation of armed groups, exacerbating the security crisis that has plagued the region in recent years. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, had urged Burkina Faso to stick to the July 2024 election date. But instead, the junta leader has opted for a transition period lasting at least 5 years, a move that some critics see as a potential slide into authoritarianism. Well, today, he has dropped a bombshell that has shocked the entire nation. And don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments section below. So let's get right into it. Barely 100 days in power, the streets of Ouagadougou are buzzing with reactions after the announcement that the Electoral Commission has been dissolved. And for those joining us for the first time, kindly subscribe for more updates on this and other similar stories. In a shocking turn of events, the military junta led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré has abolished the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of Burkina Faso, a pivotal move that allows the junta to maintain control over the country's political future. This decisive action comes just a month after the junta chief unilaterally postponed elections originally scheduled for July 2024 until 2029, asserting that the nation was not ready for a return to civilian rule. The announcement of the Electoral Commission's dissolution was made by the government spokesperson, Jean-Victor Tati, following a cabinet meeting presided over by Treasurer himself. The new legislation transferring the Electoral Commission's responsibilities to the Ministry of Territorial Administration has been published in the official journal. However, the decision to disband the INEC has been met with sharp criticism both locally and internationally. The junta came to power in September 2022 when they ousted then military leader Paul Henri Sandaogo Damiba, who had himself seized power 8 months earlier. So, why did the junta decide to dissolve the Electoral Commission at this point? And what does this mean for the country's future? First, let's look at the reasons behind the dissolution. One possible reason for the dissolution is the junta's distrust of the Electoral Commission's impartiality and independence. Another reason for the dissolution is the junta's desire to consolidate power before any elections are held. What do you guys think about this move by the Burkina junta? Do you support it or do you think it's a bad move? Next, let's discuss the implications of this move on Burkina Faso's future. The dissolution also raises concerns about the stability of the region. Despite the controversy surrounding the dissolution, it remains to be seen how the junta will proceed in terms of a transition timeline. In conclusion, the dissolution of the Electoral Commission by Burkina Faso's military junta is a worrying development for the country's democratic transition. It is important to remember that the story is still developing and that the situation in Burkina Faso remains fluid. As I wrap up this video, I encourage you to continue engaging with these issues through thoughtful discussions and actions.